The Louie T Network is powered by MusicHead University. MusicHeads, classes in session. Turn me up. Enroll on YouTube now. Link is in the description.
Who else could it be but me, your man, Louie T? Welcome to the Command Post Live. You know what it is. Post up. Take command. I, of course, am your commander-in-chief, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. So, what a whirlwind of a day it has been. Lots to get to. I'm still debating on whether or not I want to break this up into two different shows. I mean, it's so much information to consume. We went from having little to next to nothing to talk about to so many different topics that we can kind of dive into tonight. OTAs phase 3 day 1 was today, and it came in with a bang. Lots of sights and sounds from the day, lots of conversations to be had. I just was live with beat reporter Candy Waller from Bowie TV. She did a phenomenal job, as she always does, and she dropped a couple of gems on our melon. So there's been so much conversation about would we hear from Jaden. And first of all, I love the fact that the team first post of the morning was here, damn, right? Because people were bitching and complaining about not seeing 5. Why haven't we seen Jaden throwing a football? Here, damn. I love it. I love our social media team. I love the fact that they get it. They understood the assignment. They sent a picture first thing in the morning of Jaden Daniels throwing a football to kind of set the mood, if you will, for day 1 of phase 3 of OTAs. We heard from so many people today. DQ had a press conference. Jaden had a presser. Mikey jumped up there. You had Javon Kinlaw, Sam Cosme, Charles Amenahu. Then you had media scrums with guys like Traylon Burks and others. There's so many different people that we heard from today in some shape, form, or fashion. I did my normal thing where I'd listen to the press conference and took notes, or just wrote down some things and then wanted to discuss them. It's a lot. I almost have I have a page and a half worth of press conference notes. I'm debating on whether or not I want to go through those. We've got pictures, we've got video, we've got quotes, we've got antidotes from members of the media, boots on the ground. I'll be able to chime in with a little bit of the stuff that I talked about with Candy, but I'm going to pretty much allow you to watch that on your own. That video is there and up for your, consumption. But there's so much information. I don't really know where to start, but I just need to start, right? So with that said, let's go to the press conferences, and then we'll intermingle some visuals, some video, audio, all of that stuff. We'll intermingle some of that stuff as we go along. But let's start with DQ's presser. I'll try to make this quick because there wasn't anything like earth-shattering from his press conference, which we shouldn't be getting in May anyway. But the first thing he kind of talked about that caught my attention, seeing Jaden, he said, the mental quickness is what he mentioned. And he mentioned this multiple times when talking about Jaden. He said he makes things that are difficult look easy. And one of those things is having this new offense down to a science and being able to communicate that to others, getting people lined up, shifts, motions, all of that stuff. DQ went out of his way to say that mentally Jaden Daniels is among the sharpest players he's ever been around. He said his ability to have the checks, the motions, the shifts, the communication, and still play with urgency, get in and out of the huddle with urgency, is so impressive to him at this point of the spring, because they haven't had a lot of these interactions. Obviously, this is the first time they've had this type of practice, right? 7-on-7s, 11-on-11s, etc. And so to be able to have this kind of command of the offense already speaks to Jaden Daniels' hunger to want to come back this season and prove the doubters wrong. And you know, obviously Jaden's not going to say that. He's not going to say that he's been given extra added motivation. He's just going to say, this is my process. This is what I do, right? It's a new offense, and I want to dive into it, and I want to make sure that I am as prepared as anybody, and speaks this language as fluently as anyone on the team, not named David Blau. But you be fooling yourself if you don't think that Jaden for 1 second isn't locked in and dialed in to this playbook, because he wants to master it so that he can then take that mastery and kick some ass this season. And we'll get to that when we get to Jaden. DQ talked about David Blau, and he talked about Durante Jones, but he said David Blau nailed the install teaching portion. Same thing with Durante Jones. He said both of them nailed the install teaching portion of their respective sides of the football. He said David has done a great job of collaborating with the staff. It's a veteran staff, and he's done a great job of being all-inclusive with that staff as to getting everyone on the same page so that they can disseminate the information of this new offense to the players the way that he would like it to be. He talked about building a playbook. I thought this was probably one of his most interesting comments, because DQ himself has been a coordinator in this league, obviously, multiple times over. And he's like talking about the genesis of a playbook, how you build it, how you teach it. And he said, you know, you group things together. So he's like, coming from a defensive standpoint, you know, single high safety, two high shell, you know, and then all of the plays that fall under that umbrella, that's how you teach it. And then you start expanding. And he said there's so much when you first start out with a playbook. There's so much information. There's so many plays. And then as you get further along in the process, you start to shrink and reduce, and you make it unique to the skill sets of your players, which makes a ton of sense, right? So he said you start out huge, you shrink it down to make it more intentional and concise, and then it becomes player driven. He used Sonny Styles as an example. He said, you know, because you have Sonny Styles, here are some plays that you're going to run specifically because they highlight his skill set, so forth and so forth. I would imagine on the offensive side, you have Antonio Williams. You're going to run certain plays that highlight his skill set. So these are the things that he talked about when building a playbook. I thought that was really intriguing. He talked about the offensive efficiency and why it's different. He said that they're going to have balance, especially on early downs. They want to run the football. They want to set up, you know, the play pass. They want to be able to do both on early downs. So he's looking for balance. He says it's not going to be 50-50, but they are looking for balance. He said, and then expect play action fake. We're going to have an explosive and dynamic offense this year. I'm excited about the fact that the play action fake, we haven't had real play action fake here since the Shanahans. You got to think about it. Jay Gruden's play action fake was asked because we ran duo. And I remember Chris Cooley complaining and crying about the fact that that duo doesn't allow for real play action fake. No one's falling for that. So we didn't have real play action fake the entirety of Jay Gruden's tenure here. We know that Scott Turner didn't run real play action fake here because he was gun based. You can't have a true play action fake game out of gun. I'm sorry, you can't. You have to get under center if you want your play action fake to truly be impactful. So we didn't have that with Scott Turner. We didn't have that with Eric Bieniemy. Shit, we barely ran the damn football with Eric Bieniemy when he was here. So we never had. And then when Cliff was here, our play action fake was non-existent. We haven't had real play action fake since 2013. That's well over a decade ago. I'm so excited for this offense and what the play action is going to do in terms of us being able to now have some chunk plays. And I just remember Louis Riddick saying this last year, and I've been saying this for years, but to hear Louis Riddick say it, it hammered it home even further. Anybody that's not getting under center, you are missing out on the easy layups that being under center affords you. He said, as a defender, one of the hardest plays to stop is one of the most simple. It's just simply you go out to that landmark, you run out to meet that running back, you pull that football out, and you get out the other side. The entire defense is flowing to where that run game looks like it's heading. You pull the football out, you get out, and you boot. And then there's a guy just sifting across the formation wide open, and you just toss it to him. That's a 15-yard gain. You know how many times we've been eaten up with that one play? Dallas used to do it to us on the first play of every game, and we would fall for it every single time. Now that it's in our playbook, I can't wait to watch us work, man. He talked about Durante Jones and his teaching. He said, and I didn't realize this. DQ said that there's no combative plays on the football during this phase of the spring. So, you know how hard it is to coach your defensive backs when they can't truly make a combative play on the football? Meaning if it's the ball's at the catch point, you're there with the receiver, you can't go and try to break up the pass because there's too much contact involved. There's supposed to be no contact involved, right? I feel like that's hard to really replicate, your defensive backs making plays on the football. DQ tried to explain. I'm like, there's just no way around that. That's tough. It's tough. He gave us a brief Dorrance, Trey, and Dietrich Wise update. Trey is in Trey Amos. None of those guys practice today. And I'm going to assume none of those guys are going to practice during this phase, because what's most important is that those guys are ready for training camp. And maybe we'll see Trey Amos out there for mandatory minis in a few weeks. Maybe we won't. Maybe we won't see him on the field at all until the summer in training camp, which is fine by me, right? I'm not overly interested in guys getting out there for phase 3 of OTAs. I'm way more interested in those guys being ready to go for the start of training camp, if at all possible. Some guys are closer to being back than others. I would assume Trey Amos is the closest. I would think Dietrich Wise would be next in line. And then, I think there's still a little ways to go for a guy like Dorrance Armstrong. I don't think he's that far behind to the point where he's not going to be ready for the start of the season. But I do think there's probably a little bit more rehabbing for him to take place before he's able to get back on the field and do the things that he feels like he should be capable of doing. DQ then talked about the voluntary nature of, OTAs and the fact that they've got 100% turnout, right? Laramie Tunsil showed up, everybody. Are you kidding me? That is crazy. This speaks to everybody being bought in to what DQ and the Commanders are selling right now. He talked about Sonny Styles and Antonio Williams, the team's 2 highest draft picks from this past spring's draft, earning reps. Yeah, they're going to have to earn reps, like they made Jaden earn reps. Those 2 guys are starters already, but they're not going to just hand them the starting middle linebacker job in the case of Sonny Styles and the starting slot receiver job in the case of Antonio Williams, although those guys are your starters, man. What are we talking about, right? Like, you know what this is. So those guys are going to have to earn reps, but they already are starters. And then he talked about Jaden being more vocal, and he kind of framed it in the sense of, it's not like Jaden out here taking on this greater leadership role necessarily, where he's out here, encouraging guys and, doing all of that stuff, because that's not who he is. Jaden's not a rah-rah guy. I don't think he'll ever be that. But what he did say is that by virtue of this offense being brand spanking new to everyone, and it's a little bit more verbiage because he's got to get into the huddle and he's got to call out the play, Jaden is forced to be more vocal in that way because he's got to communicate everything to everyone on every single snap. Whereas when they were in no huddle, yes, he had to get everybody lined up, but, they could look to the sidelines, get the play, get lined up. And it wasn't as much of him having to be vocal. He has to be vocal by the nature of the offense and what it entails. So I think you're going to see Jaden take on a greater leadership role this season, though. I do believe that. Candy Waller was just on the show, and she basically said that's something that she's expected from Jaden as well, because she was mentored by guys like Zach Ertz and Bobby Wagner. Now it's his time to step up to the plate, basically. Those guys are no longer here. They've given him the game. Now we'll see what he does with it. But you still got guys like Terry McLaurin that are here that are going to be, leaders that step up, that are going to talk in front of the team, things of that nature. Cosme is a guy that is viewed as a leader, has been here for a while now too. So there are other guys that can still assume the leadership role. Charles Omenihu seems like a guy that doesn't mind speaking and saying what he feels. And then I talked about this, and we'll get to it when we get to Mikey, but Mikey's a leader, y'all. Mikey is a bona fide leader, if I've ever seen one. So, anyway, I digress. Let's get to the, let me check to make sure everything's square. Let's get to Jaden's presser. So basically started out with, does he feel like he has something to prove this season? And they asked DQ that same question about Jaden, and he basically said, you'd have to ask Jaden. And my response to that is, when they asked DQ, absolutely he does. What do you mean, does he have something to prove? Of course he does. Now, I wasn't sure if Jaden was going to respond to that question about whether or not he had something to prove. But Jaden absolutely said, if you don't have something to prove every single year, then what are you doing? Like, why are you even playing? There's an extra added bit of motivation for Jaden this year, for sure, because of how last year turned out. But make no mistake about it, these guys are internally motivated. And so, yeah, he's got something to prove to everyone. He hears the noise. We've talked about this, but he just wants to be great because that's the standard he holds himself to. That's what you want. You want guys that internally are motivated. There are going to be external factors that motivate them from time to time, but internally you want to be great, and that's all that matters. He talked about building the offense with David Blau. I really believe that Jaden is really going to take ownership of this offense, because he is going to be kind of in lockstep with David Blau as far as how this offense is going to be built. I think Blau and Jaden have such a tremendous relationship that they've already established, so much so that I think Jaden is going to be even more involved than he was with Cliff in terms of building this offense around the things that he is comfortable with. I think, and he mentioned that during his press conference, but I'm really looking forward to seeing how this thing turns out. I really, truly am. He was asked about going from Cliff to Blau and what his input was in that process. And he's like, I mean, they kept me in the loop, but like, that's above my pay grade. I'm not making the decisions, but he's like, they let me know what was going on. And, you know, and DQ had already told us that over the winter, basically heading into spring, that, you know, we kept Jaden in mind with every decision that we made. And we made sure he didn't find out on social media or from some third party. We wanted him to hear it from us before anybody else could get to him. So they definitely kept him in the loop with that. I love this quote from him. He said, last year, quote, left a bitter taste in his mouth, close quote. It left a bitter taste in all of our mouths. And if you were okay with last year, then you're cool with losing. You're cool with not living up to expectations. Last year was a disaster. It was an unmitigated disaster, was last year. And everybody had their hand in last year's debacle. And for Jaden, his role was just not being able to stay healthy. And there's nothing he could do about that. But ultimately, you know, the Bears game, the ball slipping out of his hand, he had something to do with that, right? He talked about lack of focus in that moment. And last year was just rough. It was just rough. And you want to hear guys like, it's a new year. We don't need to dwell on last year, but I'm going to just let you know, I got some shit to prove, basically. And I love that. Talked about being under center and the footwork that comes with it. And he basically said, look, man, I've been doing under center footwork since I got in the league. Like, this ain't nothing new for me. He's like, you got to be versatile. You got to be able to do everything. So I've been doing under center, you know, snaps and the footwork that goes with it. We just haven't run a lot of it. I hear him talking when he says that. I don't believe him. I don't believe that he was as comfortable as he is now. I think he's taking way more under center snaps this offseason and, into this, spring, going into the summer, than he has his entire career combined, because he looked uncomfortable last year when they asked him to be under center. When they would ask him to try to get to that mesh point to hand the ball off to the right, he looked uncomfortable. They had him tossing the ball like they did Robert. Guys that weren't comfortable being under center and getting to that mesh point because the footwork wasn't there. You just have them toss the ball because they're not comfortable doing it. And they did that with Jaden in that Seattle game, if you go back and watch that game. So I don't think he was as comfortable as he is now. He gets from under the center. And we got to see that on, if you didn't watch the command center stream that they had, it was about 15 minutes long prior to practice really getting underway. They were showing all the quarterbacks getting from under center, taking center snaps, getting out to that mesh point, handing the ball off to the running back. That's an important thing in this offense. And Jaden wasn't really comfortable with that last year. So I think he is way more comfortable now than ever before under center. He talked about, being teammates with Rachaad White and how Rachaad had all these options and he chose to play here in Washington, and he's so excited about playing with his teammate. He said, I've known Rachaad since I was 19 years old, so it's really cool to reconnect and have him as a teammate. He talked about Brandon Ayuk. He was asked about Brandon Ayuk, and it was a very good answer from Jaden. It was a really veteran answer from Jaden. Basically, look, man, love Brandon Ayuk, have a personal relationship with him, have no idea about his football, career and what his next move is. I couldn't tell you what he's going to do, where he's going to end up. None of that. I don't have any control over that. I don't know anything about it. That's the right move, right? That's the right thing. Last thing you want to do is give out a soundbite to San Francisco, make them hold on to Brandon Ayuk even longer, right? Thoughts on Antonio Williams? Quote, this is a direct quote from Jaden. Smooth kid, very crafty within his routes and excited to build a rapport with him, close quote. So I'm telling you right now, boy, when him and 14 lock in, look out. Look out. They're gonna create some movies in 2026 and moving forward. He then was asked about Chig Okonkwo, and he basically talked about being so excited when they added Chig in the offseason, said that Chig plays fast, plays at 100% at all times. He's a super smart guy, so he's able to digest more of the offense. He said that he's going to have a much bigger role here. Remember, we heard Chig talk about not being featured as much in Tennessee and how he was sold on coming to Washington, how they basically said, hey, this is what we see your role being here. We think you can be a 1,000-yard receiving tight end. We think you're that talented. And Jaden basically said, we're going to expand his role. We're going to give him the football, and he's going to star. He's going to shine in this offense. And who doesn't think that he isn't going to do exactly that in this offense? Like, when we talk about not having wide receiver 2, I think that blow is lessened by having a guy like Chig Okonkwo. You still want to add that receiver because you don't want to be relying on one guy here or one guy there, but understand the importance of a guy like Chig Okonkwo. He's like having another wide receiver on the roster, on the football team. So he talked about having Terry and Laramie Tunsil at phase 3 of OTAs, neither of which were there last year, and the importance of what that signifies. Again, these guys are locked in this year, man. It's a different vibe. I talked about that with Candy Waller. She said the energy is the same, but the intensity is different. And I think having guys like Terry be there, it just there. Like she said, Candy said there was a cloud, a dark cloud hovering over the offseason after Terry left phase 2 of OTAs and didn't return until basically the end of the summer. There was a dark cloud hovering over this team, and it never went away. Even when the season finally started and the games mattered, it never went away. And it hovered over this team the entire season, and it led to 5-12. It's a different feeling this year. It's a different feel. It feels different because it is different. Then something that I absolutely loved from Jaden. They asked him about this essentially being like the first day of school, but is there extra emphasis being put on today in particular? Because it's the first time he's really gotten out there in a live practice setting with his teammates since he got injured last year, and putting that season behind him and kind of starting anew, turning a new page. There's there another level of excitement? And he was like, yeah. And then the guy said, are you somewhat nervous? And Jay's like, nah, nope, never that. I ain't never nervous. Like he wasn't letting that shit ride. Right? Nah, hell no, not nervous. And I remember Jaden saying that in his rookie season. He's like, I don't get nervous before the games. I don't get nervous. He's like, I'm anxious. I'm excited to get out there and play, but I'm never nervous. He said, but he is excited to be back. He is excited to be back. He talked about building a rapport with the wide receivers, and Candy talked about that as well, how there's so many receivers. He talked about having a voice in year 3. You know, when he was a rookie, he was just trying to prove himself. Year 2, you know, you still had the veterans like Zach Ertz and Bobby Wagner there. Their voices resonated a lot more than his did. He didn't have to have a voice necessarily. He's the quarterback, so naturally players are going to gravitate towards him, but he didn't have to have a voice. I think this year it is mandatory that he has a voice. Those guys are no longer in the locker room, and now it's him and Terry and Sam Cosmi and guys like that that have been here who are now the leaders of the locker room. Even if they don't want to be, it doesn't matter if you want to be the leader in the locker room or not as a quarterback. Once you have that title and that is the position you play, you are without a doubt a leader, whether you want to be or not. So I think he recognizes that and realizes that he's going to have a voice in his 3rd season. And then he talked about no huddle versus huddling up. And he said, you know, they huddled a little bit last year, but he said the biggest difference is now you got to call out the plays yourself. It's not a big deal. He's like, some of them can be a little wordy, but for the most part, he's got, all of it down packed, and it's not a big change for him. You know, huddling versus, no huddle is not a big difference in his mind. So that was Jaden. It was just so good to hear from 5, man. Good to see him back out there smiling. And he's locked in, man. He is locked in. Let's get to some sights and sounds from day 1, and then we'll come back and get to some more of these press conferences. Let's get to we'll start with the Commanders and what they bring to the table. We'll start there. Let's go through this. Start all the way down here. And so this was the post that I was talking about earlier. Here, damn, right? Like, y'all crying, y'all been bitching and complaining about, and matter of fact, let me like this and let me repost this, because I love this. When I saw it this morning, I was like, that's dope. Yeah, that's dope. I love it. Here, damn. Like, y'all been crying and complaining about seeing 5. Here you go, man. Leave me the hell alone. Shut up. I love that shit. I love the fact that our social media administrator gets it. It's Jaden obviously speaking to the media. Mikey talked to the media. There's Big 78 right there, man. Like, that's crazy. That's crazy to see Laramie out there. I'd thrown out that maybe, just maybe, because he got the contract, he would, show up, but I didn't think he was actually going to show up. Here's some pictures here. There's Terry. Connolly Jr. blocking there. And you have, that looks like Drake Jackson, I think. That looks like 93. I'm not sure if that's 93 or if that's some other guy. I don't think Drake Jackson has that kind of facial hair, so don't know exactly who that is. But see Jaden here throwing the ball to Diami. And our girl Candy Waller said Diami looks a bit bigger and more physically imposing this year. So you see the connection of 5 rolling out to his right, finding Diami. I was gonna ask her if we missed Diami. I'm gonna ask her that. I'm gonna have Candy back on with me next week. And so I'm gonna ask her, does she think we missed Diami last year? Because I think we missed Diami last year. People talk shit about Diami. You say what you want. We missed Diami last year. I think he's gonna be so much more comfortable this second go round. And I think we missed Diami's speed and his ability to just impact a game, run after catch, all that good stuff, get vertical. And I think Jaden, obviously we know that there is a connection between Jaden and Diami. So the way Jaden puts his helmet on is so tough. Really? Hey, that's our quarterback. That's my quarterback. Man. All right. Let's get to some JP Finley real quick. So this is JP Finley showing us some Jaden early on. I love this drill. We're going to get a nice look at this drill on another page. But this is a great look. That's Doug Williams' son right there, DJ Williams, new quarterbacks coach, running this drill for the quarterbacks, basically simulating, a pocket that's collapsing around you and having pocket mobility, right? Being able to move your feet, reset your feet in the pocket, not getting out of the pocket, not bailing because there's a little bit of a dent in the pocket over here, but just sliding to your right a little bit, creating that extra second you need, now getting rid of the football. So that's what this drill simulates, right? Not getting out of there, just moving around, staying in the pocket, being tough with the football, two hands on the football, delivering the football, right? So this one here, you're going to see Terry catch the football over the shoulder. Boom. Which he's so great at. You're going to see Chig, going through a drill here where they're patting at the football, trying to poke it out, being tough with the football, contact balance. Rashad White, I remember seeing this first carry while I was watching the command center earlier. I was like, damn, who took that carry? He's flying. It was Rashad White who took that carry. And it makes sense because there was no build today. We'll get to that a little bit later on, but you just got to see Rashad White, Fat Man, Chig, and Terry. This is Antonio Williams catching that over-the-shoulder catch like Terry did. Boop. Man, he looks so crispy. Got the black hood on. He got the black shield on. He looks so crispy out there, man. Damn, I love Antonio Williams, bro. I'm hyped. Sonny Styles out here running around at his first OTAs, like his first real meaningful OTA. So you've seen a little bit of 52 out there moving around. And you get Jaden throwing the ball to Terry here on a little out cut. And then you're going to get Jaden to Jalen Lane on a little shallow cross here over the middle of the football field. Bam. Then Jalen Lane gets up the field. So this was a big tweet from JP Finley earlier in the day. He was one of the first people to actually post this. JP Finley says, kicking battle will be fun to watch. Drew Stevens just absolutely ripped all 6 field goal attempts. Moody went 5 of 6 and made his longest, which was about 53-ish. AP and DQ watched intently. Stevens' power is obvious. If the accuracy can match, he's a weapon. So that's something to keep in mind. I'm getting excited about this place kicking battle because I'm just ready to address this position and put it in the rearview mirror. I'm sick of this. I want so badly. I'm jealous. I'm not afraid to admit that I'm jealous. I so badly want what Dallas has, a weapon. I want what Jacksonville has, a weapon as a field goal kicker, a guy that when you cross midfield, you're in field goal range. A 62-yard field goal isn't out of the realm of possibility. Like, that is a luxury that very few teams in the league have. I don't necessarily have to have that, but I want that in my back pocket. Like, I want a 61-yard field goal to not be off limits to my team because I have a kicker that is capable of hitting a 61-yard field goal. Like, if a drive, like every drive, you can't end it with a touchdown. You can't end every possession by going for it on 4th down. It might be 4th and 11. and you're stuck at the 38-yard line, or you're stuck at the 40. I want a kicker that can kick a 58-yard field goal. I don't want to have to punt in that situation. You can't go for it on 4th and 11. I don't want to have to punt that football and try to pin them. I want points. And Drew Stevens may be able to deliver that. So that's one that I'm looking forward to seeing unfold. JP Finley says, real pace to this OTA session, can feel the tempo. Washington trying to maximize reps in 11v11. So Trey Burks just made a hell of a diving catch, was clearly out of bounds, but that was the throw. Still impressive. You want to hear Trey Burks making some plays on the football. JP Finley talked about Treylon Burks just now. He then talked to him, and he said, I asked Treylon Burks how fast Jaden Daniels has absorbed the new offense. He said, shit, super fast. Jalen Lane said it was almost like Jaden, quote, was a founder of the offense, close quote. That's what DQ talked about, mental quickness and Jaden's ability to absorb the offense, be able to regurgitate it, get guys lined up, make checks at the line of scrimmage. Him doing that in May at the first OTA in phase 3 sends a message, a clear message to the rest of his teammates. 1, I put the work in. 2, I command this offense. I'm in charge. And I know what the hell I'm doing and what I'm talking about. That's a message that was heard loud and clear today in day 1 of phase 3 of OTAs. It's a hell of a message to send to your teammates. So that's JP Finley. Everything else we're going to talk about. So we'll come back to that a little bit later on. But let's get back to some of these press conferences. Mikey had a press conference today, and he started out, and I thought this was the most important portion of his press conference. The first 2 questions that he was asked pretty much were the best questions he was going to see the entire presser. And the first one was, where are you going to play, bro? They got you lining up outside, inside. Of course, he's not going to divulge that information. He was like, wherever they need me to play. Right. And then they followed up with, well, has he told you where you're going to line up, where you're going to play? And he's like, what Coach Jones has basically told to all of us, every single person, to a man on defense, from the defensive line to the linebackers to the corners to the safeties, is learn the entire defense. Learn every position within your group, because on game day things happen and you may be thrusted into a different, position other than where you started at the game at, and you need to be very aware of what that entails and what we're going to ask of you. So don't worry about whether you boundary or nickel. Learn both of them shits. Learn both of them. Know exactly what both do in every call, and be very cognizant of what it entails for both guys and both positions, rather. He then was asked where he feels most comfortable, and I thought for a second he was about to answer. And I was like, you really finna answer this shit? He gave it some thought, and then he started out in the beginning of the sentence. It sounded like he was about to say, really, I'm more comfortable. He caught himself, and he basically said, wherever they need me to play, that's where I'm going to be. And so that's the right answer. Good answer. Good answer. Show me wherever they want me to play. Ding! Number 1 answer. That's the best answer. All right. We know where he's most comfortable at. Outside, boundary corner. He can't say that. He talked about learning Durante Jones' system and how he's watched the Minnesota Vikings and watched guys that play kind of similar to where he plays, and kind of really trying to mimic some of the things that they do, but also, trying to learn everything that this defense entails. And He said it's a lot, but he's really, grasping this defense and feels like Durante's doing a great job of teaching, what it is they're looking for. Then I put this down in my notes. I said, Mikey's a leader. He's a leader, bro. He's going to establish himself as, because it was one of his responses to a question that just made me say to myself, this dude is a natural leader. I remember Nick Saban basically saying, pound for pound, this guy's the best player in the draft. He's a leader. He's this, that, and the third. And I remember listening to people at Michigan who were on the coaching staff, players who said Mikey Sainristil was the leader of that team when they won the national championship back in 2023. He was the leader of that football team. I can see that. He's going to have a voice that resonates in this locker room, I believe. It's only a matter of time. He talked about all of the new pieces that they have defensively. And I think the thing that resonated to me the most when listening to these players talk is just how much more talented this team is than the previous 2 years. They're not going to come out and say it, but they are insinuating that, man, we got some talent. And I've said this. This might be the most talented team I've ever seen assembled. And again, if you're gonna go back and look at the totality of talent, you probably gotta go all the way back to like 05, 04, 05. Gibbs 2.0 was the last time we had this much talent, both sides of the football combined. But you didn't have Jaden Daniels at quarterback, obviously. But you had Clint Portis, you had Santana Moss, you had in 05 Santana Moss, and you had Chris Cooley. You had weapons on the offensive side of the football. You still had Jansen. I believe you still had Jansen and Samuels then. You had offensive weaponry then, right? And then defensively, don't get me started. The defense was the catalyst back then. So I don't think we've had this much talent since then. And you could argue that this team is more talented just off the strength of Jaden, right? You can hear when guys talk about this team and the talent and the pieces that they've added that it's significant. It's a significant difference. So Mikey basically talked about the new pieces added defensively. And I thought it was funny because he talked about the defense and the secondary in particular and the corners even more specifically. And the names he rattled off, he was talking about himself, Amik Robertson. He said AK, which is Akello Witherspoon. And he mentioned Amos, Trey. He said, and Trey. He didn't mention not another corner. And he was struggling to try to come up with another name. And then he just said, F it. And just kept talking. We ain't got shit after Akello Witherspoon, y'all. At corner. We ain't got shit after AK, bro. They're going to have to do something, man. They're going to have to do something. We're going to have to find somebody else, man. We ain't got shit after AK, bro. 4 corners is not enough. 4 corners is not enough. Challenging, he said, challenges facing this type of offense. He talked about remembering seeing this offense, playing against it, multiple times throughout his career already, Detroit, Minnesota, and Chicago. And he said the key is locking into final picture, right? Locking the offense into a final picture. So you can understand what it is from a formational standpoint, who's responsible for what they're trying to get to. Because of this guy is lined up with this split, he's probably running this type of route. That's the important thing, is getting that final picture, because there's shifts, there's motions, there's all this different eye candy and window dressing. But can you take that last snapshot before the ball is snapped to give you a bead on what is about to happen? And then I thought this was really interesting. Mikey talked about his and Amik Robertson's relationship. And I thought there was something extra there. those two were the catalyst for a workout we saw with the defensive backs this spring, where there were a bunch of them: Percy Butler, Quantrez Knight, a number of guys were there. But it was Amik and Mikey that kind of set the thing up. And he said he's been working out with Amik Robertson since last year. You know, last year was when they like first really met. They knew of each other, but actually meeting each other, working out with each other, that took place last year. And so when he found out Amik was signed here, he said, I immediately called him up. And we immediately hit it off. And now I actually know him. And that's my guy, basically. Like, and I think the reason he gravitated towards him, he talked about it, but they're very similar players, right? Amik was told he was too small to play outside, so they forced him inside. Amik's better probably outside than he is inside, but he's got the flexibility and the versatility to play both. And so I think he sees a lot of himself in Amik Robertson, or vice versa. And that's why I think they get along. They're very similar players. They feel somewhat interchangeable. And I think that's why they get along as well as they do. So that's Mikey and his press conference. Javon Kinlaw, man. Boy, I love Javon Kinlaw. Kinfolk, as my girl Condo P, a.k.a. Playoff P, a.k.a. the legendary Miss P, calls him. Kinfolk. He's a walking soundbite. Had the soundbite of the day. We'll get to that in a second. But he said, he started out by talking about the motivational piece. Was last year's disappointment extra added motivation for them? And he's like, nah, like, same energy, bro, that we had last year, we got this year. Now, he did kind of speak to, like, there is an urgency, you know, that maybe didn't exist last year, but the same energy exists. Like, and Candy said that basically, like, no, the energy with DQ is always going to be sky high, sky high, sky high, sky high. So you ain't got to ever worry about that. The energy, it doesn't fluctuate with DQ. It's always going to be high. But it's about, she said, the intensity has been ratcheted up. And I think Kinlaw kind of made mention of that as well. He then described Durante Jones's defense. He said it's aggressive. It's fast. He said that there's a lot of movement, and it's very player friendly. And you're going to hear that referenced by Charles Omenihu a little bit later on. He then talked about the new additions to the team, and he talked about we added some motherfuckers. He said we added some motherfuckers. So, you know, Kinlaw is not one to hold his tongue. He's definitely gonna say how he feels, and he didn't mix words. He said, we added some others. And boy, have they ever, especially on that D-line. Especially on that D-line. Linebacker in that front seven they're the two most improved positions on the entire roster. By far and away. He talked about having a full house, meaning everybody showing up to this voluntary Phase 3 OTA, 100% attendance. And he said, the best teams that I've been on, we got a full house. He said, this is where you lay the foundation for the culture. You do it right now. This is when relationships and bonds are forged. This is when you set that culture. You determine what the DNA of the football team is going to be for the upcoming season. You do it now. And so having everybody be a part of this shit is important. at least for year one, with a new coordinator on both sides of the ball. So, yeah, that was pretty dope. So let's get to some more sights and sounds. Then we'll come back, knock out these last two pressers, and then get to any comments that you guys may have. So let's move on to Scott Abraham. And as you see here, let me add that to the stage. All right. So now we're on Scott Abraham's page, and you see Jaden stretching along with the quarterbacks. Nothing major here, right? More stretching. Adafi Owe, number 98, big free agent acquisition. You see y'all favorite player, Jartavius Martin, right here, front and center, stretching. Big Matt Gulbin in the back, 66. All right. So just a little stretching going on. All right. Leo Chanel, 54 is who he's highlighting here. Stretching, as you can see, Leo right here, walking down. Says it's great to see Terry McLaurin here for OTAs. It's great to have Terry back, man. Little sit down by Terry, catch, get up the field. Such an important part of what we do. This was the first time we realized Laramie Tunsil was in the building. It was Scott Abraham who posted it. He was the first one to get Laramie Tunsil footage out there to the masses to let us know, hey, bro is actually here. I lost it when I seen Laramie Tunsil was there. Like, what? Shit's crazy. For those of you who aren't aware, pause. This right here is our new offensive line coach right here, Darnell Stapleton. Learn the face. That's Darnell Stapleton, our new offensive line coach. He was the assistant offensive line coach last year under O-line Bobby Johnson. He is now the official head man in charge of that room. All right, that was Cosme working on a block here. Get to more Terry McLaurin. Scott Abraham talking about Terry's locked in, getting some reps in, catching the football. Who says Terry doesn't have hands, man? Y'all stop that shit. Hey, y'all gonna stop talking about my king, man. Y'all stop that shit. Terry's a king around these parts. This is a great look at this drill. Footwork in the pocket. It's a great look at them making sure that you don't leave the pocket unnecessarily. You just slide left or right, buy yourself some extra time within the pocket, and get rid of the football, right? Adam Peters, there at practice, taking in the action, seeing what his product looks like on the field for the first time. This is the roster and I've said this, I think this is the best roster that he's assembled. Sam Hartman and Ethan Kaliak-Manis, QB3 competition loading. Ain't no competition. This is Ethan Kaliak-Manis' job already. He could go out and stink the entire summer. He's going to win QB3 job. They spent the draft pick on him. Sam Hartman is cooked. Can't wait to see Ethan Kaliak-Manis get out there, man. Can't wait to see him get out there. He's going to make this summer fun. De'Ami Brown, Van Jefferson, Traylon Burks, important pieces in the wide receiver room. I wouldn't call them important, especially Van Jefferson, but Brown and Traylon Burks in particular are important pieces. Now, if we don't sign another receiver, if there's no Brandon Ayuk here when the season starts, then Van Jefferson becomes that much more important. But right now, he still is not making this football team. But Traylon Burks absolutely is. Same with De'Ami Brown, in my estimation. And just like I did with Darnell Stapleton, just want to point out to you guys, and I'm pretty sure you know this by just seeing his face, you are aware, but that right there is wide receiver coach. Well, he's offensive coach now. It's not the wide receiver coach. That's still Bobby Ingram. He's now coaching on the offensive side of the football. Last year, he was like a defensive coach, like an assistant, just hopped around defensively to help Wes Welker. This year, he's on the offensive side. he should be working with the receivers. It's a really good one in his day. First round pick, Sonny Styles, dropping into coverage. That's what this clip is all about. Well, that right there is him, coming up, form tackle, filling a hole, that sort of thing. Him and Jordan McGee. I'm assuming they're getting back into coverage this time. Yeah, he just looks fluid. Again, that's a former safety we talking about. Former safety. Over the shoulder catches, we've seen this already with Terry. We've seen it with Antonio Williams. There's Jalen Lane doing it. I think that's Jalen Bradley. We just caught that 86. I'm not sure. Frankie Louvu and Leo Chanel working on their rushes. So many people want to push Frankie Louvu off this roster. I better stop that shit. Y'all may ultimately turn out to be right about Frankie, and he may end up being off this roster, but I don't think it's going to happen. I think we're going to see a lot of Leo Chanel rushing this year. You're going to see a lot of guys rushing. So I think you're going to see more of Sonny Styles rushing. You're going to see a lot of Leo Chanel rushing. You're going to see Frankie Louvu rushing. I think you're going to see Jordan McGee rushing. This defense is all about creating havoc. This is Chigakonkwo from Scott Abraham. Scott Abraham says he's excited to see this dude in the offense. Chig is like another receiver out there, man. He's going to be fun to watch, especially if we can get him into space. Sonny Styles working on his pass rush. He's a guy that, boy, I'm telling you, they're going to unleash this guy. Look at that. That just looked fluid too, man. Get them hands out of there. Remember, I told y'all, Kinlaw said, we got some mother. You got to love it, man. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. So this is Traylon Burks.
It's guys in places
speaking.
To make plays.
I'll let y'all hear this.
I love it, man. Thanks. It gets guys in places to make plays. And D. Blau, he's doing a tremendous job of getting us ready and teaching us it. All our coaching staff is the same way, and keep getting better each day, man. I love it, man.
So you're gonna hear that a lot. Guys just being excited to be in this offense and just getting the opportunity. That's usually all you can ever ask for, is just getting the opportunity. Anytime you can hear Amik Robertson talk,
whatever, he know what.
That you're in a good place.
We already chopped it, whatever. He know what.
That,
I'm a highly competitive guy. I
New
know
Orleans,
he's a highly competitive
Southern
guy.
twang that he has.
Not a really big guy. So I understand he had to earn everything. And just like I had to earn everything. So I know it's both pit bulls on both sides of the ball. So we're gonna get out there every day. I wouldn't want to do it with no one else.
He's gonna be another fun one too. He's gonna be another. You got Marcus Mariota talking about
great, man.
Antonio Williams, third-round pick, wide receiver.
Even just now, seeing kind of, he's like a sponge. He's just trying to learn as much as he can, and he's got great feel for his routes, which I think for a young guy is very impressive. That transition for a young receiver into the NFL, having to diagnose different coverages and all those things, having that feel is something that has to kind of grow. And he's got a pretty solid foundation in that, and it's cool to see.
You love to see it. And this is David Blau. And I told you one of the things I was going to be looking for is how is he commanding practice, right? Look at him. Getting everything high energy. Candy told us earlier today, this guy's high energy all the time. He doesn't turn it off. And he doesn't look like it, right? Like when you see him, you're like, he's one of them dudes you probably underestimate. I know it's easy to underestimate a guy like that, but he's already told you, bro, don't sell me short. I'm the most competitive person you've ever met in your life. Like, trust me, y'all don't want this smoke. He's a different dude, man. I can't wait to see him work. Let's get to Zach Selby, all right? Bag drill. Bag drill. Who doesn't love a good bag drill with this team? Starting off practice. Zach Selby says, we're so back. You see David Blau in there. Candy talked about it, getting in there with them. We saw this already with Terry, little whip route or sit down. Seen that already. Laramie Tunsil, present for OTAs. Pleasant surprise. Terry catching the football. We kind of saw that earlier with Scott Abraham. Oh, I'm telling y'all all of this, and I ain't even showing it to y'all. Let's go back. All right, so now we looking at the same thing. So bag drill here. What just happened? Yeah, here we go. All right, bag drill. Who doesn't love a good bag drill, as I mentioned earlier? You see offensive coordinator in the mix with these dudes. Candy talked about his energy earlier. And you see him at the end with his call sheet. You see Blau right here racing back and forth. Terry McLaurin, we saw this already. It's running a little sit down. Saw that earlier. Catch it, get up the field. Laramie Tunsil, present for OTAs. What a pleasant surprise. See him there in the mix. Saw Terry catching the football on Zach Abraham's account already. Zach Selby says, man, it's great to see Jaden throwing the football again. I think we all feel that way. I think these black quarterback jerseys hit different this year because of the Hellraisers. Like before, when they would wear these, it's just a black jersey, don't touch them. Usually the black was reserved for guys that were injured, right? They were practicing, but they were injured, don't touch them. And the quarterbacks always wore the yellow ones, and that may still end up being the case, but these blacks hit different now. Hopefully they let the quarterbacks rock these and they change the no contacts to the yellows now and just let the quarterbacks stay with these on. But when you go outside though, last thing you want is these hot ass uniforms on. Like if the sun's beaming, you don't want to have no hot ass black uni on. You'd rather have yellow on, right? So I don't know if they're gonna keep these, but this shit clean. Like the black 5 hit different in practice. These black unis that the quarterbacks have on, that shit hit different now that we got Hellraisers. These shits is clean. Clean as F. Oh man. Just that drill that I was talking about earlier. We've seen it multiple times. I love this drill. Love this drill. Love that drill. Zach Selby says, guys catching punts. Jalen Lane, Antonio Williams, Luke McCaffrey, Ja'Cory Brooks, Traylon Burks. This doesn't really move me because I know Jalen Lane is our primary punt returner. And Antonio Williams is the next guy up after drafting him out of Clemson, him having experience doing that in college. We don't have to worry about who's going to field punts if something happens to Jalen Lane. We have a guy now. And it's good to get Luke some reps and Traylon Burks some reps just in case, in the case of an emergency, they got to go back there. But we got guys now. We got guys. I'm more concerned with, hey, who fielding these kickoffs? Luke gonna be back there for sure. Who else joining them? Rashad White. So I was watching the Command Center's video that they were doing, the stream they did earlier, and I saw this guy like taking a handoff, and he was a blur. I was like, God damn, who that running back? He fast as shit. And it was Rashad White. It was this exact carry right here. He was looking explosive on that particular carry. And somebody was like, now I know Debo was fat last year because Debo had number 1, and he just looked wide and all outside in that 1 last year. And Rashad made that shit look nice and neat. That 1 looked real clean and simple this year. So y'all leave Debo alone, man. He ain't here to defend himself. But Rashad White do look clean in that number 1. That's for sure. No Bill today. No Bill. Antonio Williams going through individuals, like going through indies. That's my guy. Look at how clean he looked with that shield on and that hoodie. Ooh. Look at Tones out there, man. Look at Tonio. Ah, this boy gonna make me proud this year, man. Mm-mm-mm. How about a Matt Golban sighting, y'all? Get y'all some 6th-round pick center out of Michigan State, Matt Golban. Get y'all some of this. Combo block, get off of that combo, double team, get to the second level and get to that backer, get him out of there, man. I love it. Another over the shoulder. This is Tones. Boop. Stay in bounds. Get Luke off of you. Get off of me, Luke. Get off of me. Zach Selby, let's run through a couple of things he had to say here. Commanders running team pass, play action. Unsurprisingly, a lot of stuff under center. Duh. Right. Daniels completed passes to Burks, Terry, and Bates during that period. Okay, cool. A really nice sideline catch by Antonio Williams from Mariota. Williams primarily working with the second group today, which is to be expected. They're going to make him earn it, right? Wow, really nice catch by Terry on the sidelines working with Daniels. This was the play that Candy was talking about in the live stream that we did earlier, where she said that after Terry made the catch, AP went over and gave him a hug. We're just so glad to see him out here again, man. Zach Selby says, as promised by Quinn, we're seeing a lot of Daniels working under center. DQ said getting that down will take reps, but Daniels has shown a lot of mental quickness adjusting, which we talked about already. So far, that's exactly what we've seen. It's just one OTA practice, but he looks comfortable in a brand new system. And this is not the last time. It's not the first time, and it's damn sure not the last time we're going to talk about this. Zach Selby mentions new kicker Drew Stevens was perfect. 5 of 5 on kicks just now, including a 53-yarder. And as we know, your boy Jake Moody went 4 of 5. He did make a 53-yarder, but he was 4 of 5, so he did miss a kick. Zach Selby says the way Styles can read, identify, and change direction is really on another level. Yeah, it's early, but you can see that kind of stuff. Mike Samerstill said it's fun to learn Durante Jones's new system. He's down to pick up whatever role he is given. All right. So there is that. All right. We will wrap up the final 2 pages that we'll take a look at for day 1 of OTAs after we knock out these last 2 press conferences that we had. Sam Cosmi spoke, one of the leaders on that offensive line. He talked about how he feels. And he started his press conference by talking about that, and he kind of ended it by talking about that as well. And he said, basically, this is the best I've felt in a long time. He said, obviously, last year, I was just trying to get back, man. I was working my ass off to just get back. I wasn't working on my craft. I wasn't trying to get better. I wasn't trying to get stronger. I was just trying to get healthy. I just wanted to get back on the field. He said, this year, I feel amazing. He said, I feel stronger. I feel, agile. I'm telling you, we about to get an all-pro type season out of Sam Cosmi this year. I really, truly believe that. I called Sam Cosmi blue chip. I was told he's not a blue chipper. I'm not backing down from that. We have 4 blue chip players on this roster right now going into the season, and we could end this season with 8 or 9. But right now, we've got 4, and those 4 are Jaden Daniels, Terry McLaurin, Laramie Tunzel, and Sam Cosmi. And I firmly believe he's going to prove that this year. He then talked about how he feels about the new offense. And he's like, I really think that this offense is friendly towards the offensive line. And, Sam made it very clear back in 2023 when Ballhead Fred was here as the offensive coordinator, Eric Bieniemy, that he wanted to run the ball more. Like, tired of pass blocking and absorbing all of this contact from these edge rushers and these defensive linemen. I want to fire off the ball and hit somebody. And he's like, this offense gives you an opportunity to run the football. He talked about being under center, quarterback being under center, and how much more that offers you in terms of play action fake and things of that nature. He then talked about his confidence in Nick Allegretti playing center, and he's like, Nick's a pro. He's a pro's pro. We feel confident he can go out there and do whatever it is he's asked to do, and we confident he can get the job done at center. And then his big quotable was, he was asked about, did last year add any motivation? Does it add any motivation to this year? And he said, yeah, it does. He said, quote, he says, it's a little bit more fire under our ass, close quote, this year because of how last year went. They're not happy. They weren't satisfied. Clearly, they weren't happy or satisfied with the way last year went. And there's an urgency that exists this year. And then my favorite thing that he talked about was Josh Conley Jr. And he talked about what Josh Conley Jr. looks like in year 2. He said, when you're a rookie, you're just trying to figure out, how do I fit in? What do I do? You're just trying not to mess up. He's like, you can't, not that you can't, but you rarely see players thrive as rookies. Because your mind is just, it's going a million miles a second and your head's spinning. He said you can see that it slowed down for him. And this is important, hearing it from the guy that plays directly next to him. So if there's anybody that can tell you how the communication between he and Josh Conley went last year, it's Sam Cosmi, the guy that was playing next to him for 2/3 of the season last year. And he's like, he is a lot more comfortable. The game is slowed down for him. He talked about him being in, really good, shape. Not that he was in terrible shape last year, but he's just like, mentally, he's locked in and he's a different guy. And I expect to hear that. Right? I expect to hear that. And it's good to hear. Then we heard from Charles Omenihu, an import over from Kansas City. And I think he's going to end up being a pretty big voice in the locker room this year, because he strikes me as a guy that's not afraid to speak up. And being that he's got Super Bowl pedigree and he's been on a bunch of winning teams in Kansas City, I think he's a guy that, not sure, they might have gone to the Super Bowl at least one year when he was in San Francisco. So I think he's a guy that has so much to offer. And he talked about this system, and he said, quote, this is a direct quote from Charles Omenihu, "The system is D-line friendly." And he said it sets up a lot of one-on-one opportunities for the defensive linemen to win matchups, to be able to get into the backfield, to be disruptive. He says a very, very D-line friendly system, which is, I'll save that. He said that they're pushing each other, that you're seeing these guys doing the extra. He's like, if one guy does, extra, then the next guy feels compelled to do extra, then the next guy feels compelled to do extra. And he's like, that's how they push each other, being the best version of themselves, pushing it all the way to the limit. And that forces the next guy to have to do the same thing, or else you look like you're not putting in as much work as you possibly can. So he talked about Jaden Daniels, and obviously you're going to constantly get that comparison between Jaden and Mahomes from Omenihu, because there's nobody in the game better than Patrick Mahomes. No one has been more successful that quickly in their career than Mahomes. Jaden ran into a ton of success early on in his rookie season. And so there's always going to be comparisons. They're going to want to know, do you see, qualities in Jaden that you saw in Mahomes, and he was like, yeah. He basically said Jaden is cool, he's calm, he's collected, he's smart, he's deliberate, he's got that clutch gene. And he said these are all things that Mahomes had. And he's like, when pressure was its greatest, they would look to Mahomes, and he wasn't even breaking a sweat. The demeanor didn't change, the expression didn't change. He was locked in, and it just gave us he said, like, it gave us confidence. And he's like, I imagine Jaden Daniels being that same guy. We saw it in 2024. So he said, he was asked, does he feel like, what does he feel like he needs to show? He said, I feel like I have to show that I belong. And then he started listing like accolades, like, bro, I've been on teams that have been good. He's like, I got to get back to playing like how I played my last year in San Francisco, my first year in Kansas City. He's like, I've been on Super Bowl teams. I've been on really good teams. I know what it takes to win. But he's like, don't nobody care about all that stuff. What they care about is, what type of effort, what kind of energy, what do you bring to the table every single day? What you did in the past is great, but what are you doing right now? And he said, I got to prove myself all over again. And I got to show these guys that I belong in this locker room. So I love that approach. And then he ended his presser by saying that this defensive scheme is built for versatility. And we've heard that phrase, or that this phrase versatility used over and over and over and over and over again when it comes to Durante Jones's scheme, that versatility is the key. Having guys that can do multiple things, line up everywhere. It's what this system is built off of, what it's predicated off of. So Amenahu was like, yo, y'all might mess around and see me standing up on the edge, man. Like, that's the type of versatility I got. And that's what the type of versatility that this defense calls for and allows to happen. So that was Charles Amenahu. Let's get to these last two pages that we'll take a look at. And then we will get to the comment section, and then we'll get out of here. So this is Ben Standig. Right. So he starts off with A5 in the building, a picture of Jaden Daniels. And then he says, surprise, a pleasant one. Laramie Tunsil is here for voluntary OTAs, which, again, that was a shock to many. And this is visual proof. Tunsil standing there. Says Terry McLaurin is here. No drama this year. So picture of Terry there. Right. And another picture of Terry after he just caught the football. Right. This is a good one from Ben. Players I don't see on the field. Defensive lineman Dorrance Armstrong, ACL. Dietrich Wise, torn quad. And cornerback Trey Amos, broken leg. They were all in the building. They were all there in attendance. So was Bill, who also was. Now, Ben said he didn't see on the field. Bill was on the field. He did not participate, however. He did not participate. So, he says, okay, one more. Now, this one I didn't know about. One more. No Tim Settle, the defensive tackle, ended last year on the Texans on IR with a foot injury. So, guess he's getting more time for that to heal. Again, take all the time you need this time of the year. What I'm focused on is July. Be ready for that one. I don't give a shit about this or the mandatory minicamp in terms of having guys out on the field. If you ain't healthy, don't push it. We worried about late July, right? Like the damn chips. We worry about late July. Then he adds, running back Ja'Cory Bill Krosky Merritt is dressed but not participating in team drills. And that's what I just referenced. He then quoted Javon Kinlaw on the new defensive pieces. We got some mother effers now. That we do. That we do. This is interesting. He quoted the Stephen Holder post on Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones doing this in OTAs. He gonna be ready by that week 4 game when we play them. We not getting, a backup quarterback in that game. So y'all, we gonna have to deal with Vanilla Vic, y'all. We gonna have to stop him, and if we can't, the nightmare of Daniel Jones continues against Washington. So I just wanted to point that out. He'll be ready week 4, bro. If there are no setbacks. If he's doing this already and we in May, he'll be ready by October. So this is a video of Terry making 4 different types of catches from Bobby Ingram, who's the wide receiver coach. So out in front of him, away from his frame. Out in front of him, away from his frame again. Let's see if it actually changes or if it's just that. No, just out in front of him, away from his frame with his hands. Okay, now that's a different one. Low. Low. Okay, so it's just 4 reps of each type of throw. Low. Dig it out, right? Low. All right, go get it. All right, so now we should see a different type. Low. Okay, then that's 5 of those. Low. So he's sticking with that. Terry does a great job of catching the ball when it's thrown low, too. High, go up and get it. Leave your feet. Extend outside of your frame. High, go up and get it. You got to throw it a little higher than that, Bobby. Come on, coach. There we go. Make him jump. Terry over the shoulder. So over the shoulder. I will challenge you to find maybe Devontae Adams is the only other guy better in the league at tracking the football in those type of situations than Terry, but you won't find very many that track it better than Terry. He does a phenomenal job with tracking the football. Does a phenomenal job of tracking the football, especially over the shoulder. All right. That's Ben Standing. And then we're going to finish up with our girl, Candy Waller at Seawall Sports. Friend of the program. Had her on tonight. She was awesome. Dropped some gems on our melon. This is the bag drill we talked about earlier. Start practice with. You see them getting hype. They start practice with this every single time. So that is something that we are accustomed to seeing. Get the energy going. Seawall says, Adam Peters present for Commanders OTA, of course. And you see him there. And you see him chopping it up with David Blau a little bit, right? See Frankie Louvu and Leo Chanel. Few pictures of them. All right. So she mentioned this earlier on the show. She captured the entire wide receiving core. Nash, right there, 19. Lane, Williams, 14. McCaffrey, 11. Van Jefferson, 12. Jacoby Jones, 84. Terry, Diami, number 6. Diami does look a little bit bigger. I would agree with that. He does look bigger. A lot of receivers here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. It look like 12 of them in total. I think that's Jalen Bradley. That's the guy that I'm interested to see. I think that's who 86 is. Jalen Bradley. Nash is another one I'm interested in, obviously. And then you got the former LSU receiver here, number 10. So he's another guy that can flat out fly. All right. Let's get out of here. So receiver room is going to be really interesting this season, to say the least. Seawall said, okay. I did see Antonio Smooth Operator Williams today. They've been calling, they keep calling him Smooth. Maybe he'll just end up being Smooth. I don't necessarily love Smooth Operator, but if they just call him Smooth, if that's his nickname, I can get with that. Like, I think that's what I'm gonna just start calling him and see if we can get it to stick. Just call him Smooth, right? At rookie minicamp, I told Lake Lewis that Antonio needed a new nickname in a good way. I said he has too much swag out there to be called Smooth anything. I see it, though. I get it. She mentioned that on the show. David Harrison mentioned the field goal kicking situation. Candy co-signed it. Drew Stevens, 6 of 6 with a long of 53 and had leg to spare. That's the part that you need to know. That means that thing might have been good from 61. That kick might have been good from 63. That kick might have been good from 59. Moody, 5 of 6 with the same long, but he missed from 48. Can deal with this type of incompetency. But again, misses are going to happen. Seawall says, I've consistently said that time on task with Terry McLaurin during OTAs and training camp was missed last season. May 2026, Terry looks like they have a game to play on Sunday. He's locked in, bro. Locked in. Locked in. All right. I think that's everything that we needed to see. All right. So let's get to a word from our sponsors. We'll come back on the other side. We'll get to the comment section and we'll get y'all out of here. So, let's get the Prize Picks real quick. Shout out to Prize Picks for sponsoring this stream. If you are a member of the Prize Picks family, you already know what time it is. But if you aren't, you're in luck. Link is in the description of this and every single video that I do. Click that link. It'll take you to where you can download the app. Simply download the app. Use the promo code HMA, as you see on the screen. As a first-time user, you will now have an opportunity to play $5 and get $50 instantly in lineup bonuses when you use the promo code HMA. Prize Picks is available in states like California, Florida, Texas, so you don't need to worry about it's available in plenty of places around the U.S. Hopefully it's available where you are. And Prize Picks is phenomenal, gives you an opportunity to win big money. I've been just a hair off and, hitting it big. But I had my share of little small victories. I need a little small hit, man. I thought I was going to get a small hit. I felt like I set it up perfectly to get a small hit yesterday. And Devin Vassell just, for the first time in the series, first time in the playoffs, really, he just went. He couldn't hit. He couldn't buy a bucket, it felt like. He did hit 2 threes, but I needed this man for like 12 points, 13 points on some lineups, 12 on one lineup. And I don't think he made it to double digits, if I'm not mistaken. I think he ended up with like 8 points, 7 or 8 points, 6 points, something like that. Yeah, it was rough, man. And I saw a lot of green yesterday. A lot of green, and Devin Vassell, in most instances, was the thing that stopped me from cashing out. So got to find a way to choose better, choose wisely. But Prize Picks is where it's at. So big shout out to Prize Picks for sponsoring this stream. And look forward to showing y'all some more winners on Prize Picks. You can follow me on Prize Picks at LouieTeeNetwork. That's at LouieTeeNetwork. If you want to tell me or just follow my picks, see what I'm up to, see if I'm winning or I'm out here taking more L's. But big shout out to Prize Picks once again for sponsoring this stream. Use that promo code HMA as a first-time user. Get you that opportunity to play 5, get 50 instantly in lineup bonuses. So let's get to the comment section. See what you guys have to say. Duncan Wright, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, yo, Lou, put your ears closer to the computer and let me tell you something. Nobody cares. I have to beg to differ. There's over 400 people in here right now, so clearly somebody cares. And you're one of them. Because you're here, you care. Or you wouldn't be here. So clearly you care, my friend. It's all love, though. My guy, Duncan Wright, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up, who writes, when is the next Kings? I got video proof Rico lives double life as Commanders and to another team. Oh, Lord. Here we go again with your conspiracy theories. The next Commanders Kings stream is tomorrow. Tomorrow. We should be streaming tomorrow. It's only a day away. We'll see if that holds up, but it's supposed to be tomorrow. Mr. HTTR, thank you for being a member for 41 months. Salute to you, who writes, here, damn. Almost spit my coffee out this morning. I love that shit, bro. Our admin gets it, bro. Our admin understood the assignment, man. Here, damn. Y'all been crying this whole time? Huh? Take this shit. I love it, man. I love it. Admin understood the assignment, man. I love it. Christopher McLaughlin, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy, C-Mac, thank you for the super chat. Writes, hey, Lou. What's up, Chris? Hope all is well with you and the family. Likewise, as always. 2 questions. 1, what would you consider yards/touchdowns for Terry this season as a success if healthy for all 17 games, and why? Besides the new playbooks, what are the 3 questions you want answered in OTAs? So for Terry, I'm looking at yardage wise, anything like, obviously the floor for Terry is 1,200. I want him to eclipse 1,200. He's never done it in his career, and I feel like no time like the present. So the floor is 1,200. But if you're asking me what I think a successful season, it's 13. Like, for me to really be like, yo, Terry killed it, deserves to be somewhere in that all-pro discussion, 1,300 yards receiving. I think I've thrown out numbers for him this year, and I think I skipped over 12 and I went straight to 1,300. I think I had him at like 1,318 yards, something like that. Touchdowns, double-digit touchdowns. Again, I believe that even in his brief appearances last year, what do you have, like 5 touchdowns last year? And he barely played 10 games last year, and he started 10 games. He didn't finish 10 games last year. I think he's going to catch anywhere from 10 to 12 touchdowns. So let's split the difference, say 11. So let's go 1,318 yards, 11 touchdowns, and 86 catches for Terry this year. And I've said this already as to why. He's playing with the best quarterback he's ever played with in his career. The 1 year he played with Jaden, he was a second-team All-Pro. Set a career high in touchdown catches, was hovering around 1,100 yards. And he would have exceeded 1,100 yards, maybe even 1,200 if he could pick his feet up, and if him and Jaden could connect. And some of that might have been on Terry dropping the football. Some of it could have been a better throw from Jaden against the Saints. He picks his feet up against Cleveland. I think there's one more in there where he could have picked his feet up if Jaden doesn't miss him in the first half to start the second half against Tampa. If he doesn't have the drops and the missed opportunities versus the Saints, Terry's probably he might be over 1,300 yards. And he would add more touchdowns on the season. So, yeah, Jaden it allows Terry to maximize his talents, basically. Besides the new playbooks, what are 3 questions you want answered in OTAs? I don't think you're going to answer a bunch of questions in OTAs, but I did get one of the answers I was looking for. Where are the injured players in their process? And they were all there. They're all making progress. They're all making progress, but they're not ready yet, including Trey Amos. But I think Amos and Wise for sure are going to be ready at the start of camp. Not quite sure on Dorrance Armstrong, but I think Dorrance will be ready at some point in the summer. I do. I think all of those guys will be ready by the time we get to week 1 against the Philadelphia Eagles. So that was one question. How are the injured guys, looking, where they are in their process? How do the rookies hold up? And so far, so good, but we got more OTAs to go through. But I expect Antonio Williams, Sonny Styles, all these guys to hold up just fine. But that's another thing that I'm looking for. And then, who pops? Like, that's a question. And then who lined up where and with who? We're not going to get the answers to that. I'll get the answers because I'm going to talk to Candy off camera, and she's going to tell me who was lined up with the first team, who was lined up. They're not supposed to divulge that information. And I can't divulge that information to y'all, but I'll know. If I ask her, she'll tell me. But that's something that I want to know. Who lined up where with who? So I feel like I'm going to get the answers to all of those things by the time this is all said and done. Is there a noticeable difference in second-year players? I mentioned that on my OTA video, my preview for OTAs. And we already got the answer with JCJ from Sam Cosme that mentally he's already sharper. But physically, we've been told he already looks better. So Bill and Amos in particular, and Trey, not on the field, so gotta wait for that, right? Duncan Wright, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes? And Lou, when did Ed become the local grammar? Did you just make a word up? Grammarian? Like, first of all, that's a tough word. Then you added in some shit and made it into a new word. How about this is the thing, and I always tell people this. How about we just worry about focusing on actual grammar, right? For you, and I'm just talking about you in particular. How about we just worry about actual grammar and mastering the simple stuff like punctuation, spacing, when to use a comma, that sort of thing, right? Cohesiveness, when to use a verb, when to use a noun, let's focus on that stuff for you. Let's not start creating new words. You struggle with the English language as is. Let's not worry about creating new language and new words. Let's just worry about mastering the language that's already here, right? He says he does football, not the Yale debate team. Grammar, see, just like that, you messed up grammar. Let's just focus on keep the main thing, okay? That quickly, grammar got messed up that quick. In football, it's subjective. Ed and Rio be, what is that supposed to be? I don't know. I don't know. Candy just texted me. I'm going to text her back real quick. Because I got something to tell her. I'm gonna text her when I'm done. Because I got a lot to say. Let me keep talking to y'all in the meantime. MC Saba, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, my guy, MC Saba. Writes, just cuz, Lou. I appreciate you, MC Saba, man. Much respect, much love, man. We got to see JD5, and it was a good day, man. Today was a good day. Ooh, ah, ooh. Wow, 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 wow. Today was a good day, man. We got to see 5 tossing around a pigskin, man. Today was a good day. Cue my fangirl screams all day. My poor co-workers heard nothing but JD5 all day, as they should have. Today was one of them days, man, that you got to see one of them ones out on the football field. They'll be all right. They'll be all right, MC Saba. They'll be all right. Don't be afraid. Don't put your fandom away for them. Let them know what it is, man. Today was a good day. Let them know. John Perez, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, my guy, JP. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, Lou, good to see you as always. Likewise, JP, always great to hear from you. Wanted to ask Candy how the Rooks are doing and how 5 is approaching this season. Plus, I ordered a Sonny Styles jersey. That should be fire. Good. You're in luck. I don't know if you'll be around, but next Wednesday, Candy's coming back on the program. It was so nice. We decided we got to do it twice. So we're going to run it back next week. And feel free to pop up if you're available. Next week's stream is going to be at 9:00 p.m. on Wednesday night. Feel free. I think I may reschedule it because usually the NBA finals start on Wednesday night. And no matter what happens in this Spurs series, it's going to be done on Sunday. And I believe game 1 is going to be Wednesday. Now, if it's Tuesday or it's Thursday, we'll leave the stream on Wednesday with Candy. Seawall Wednesdays. I'm watching game 1. I'm going to be in front of my television for game 1. So I have to figure out if that's going to be Wednesday. And like I said, the finals usually starts on a Wednesday. And if it starts on Wednesday, I'm going to have to reschedule with her. See if she's available on Thursday or Tuesday. But either way, I'll let you know. So you can ask her yourself. But she kind of gave us a little bit of that, how the rookies are doing. But you can ask her how they're approaching the season and what she's seen from them because you remember, she hasn't seen them but today and rookie minis, the first practice of rookie minis. So she hasn't seen a ton of them herself. But she can give you the information that she's gathered in the brief amount of time that she's been around them. But she did talk about 5 on the stream we did earlier. So check that out. Of course, she talked about 5. Chaos Nux. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Chaos Nux, writes, you watched the selected episode CBS uploaded with your boy Williams. I have that saved in my my queue on YouTube. So I'm going to watch that. Absolutely, I am. Think you'd be all over it if I'm not late. I haven't watched it yet, but I got it saved in my queue. I saw it last night, and when I got off the stream with the Kings, I was like, I needed a bath. I went and took a bath. I came out, and I just mulled over my tickets like a loser. So by the time I remembered I needed to watch it, I was like, I'll save it for tomorrow. And then today has just been so busy. I'm going to watch it after I get off here, though. Definitely going to watch it. Definitely going to watch it. Thank you for the reminder. John Perez, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, my guy, JP. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Last season was so bad for the players and fans. I'm still trying to wipe it from the memory bank. Watching the playoffs from home still hurts too. I want a playoff berth more than anything this year. I already said I want a bounce back season so bad I could taste. This is one of the seasons I can say definitively I want to be good more than any of the last 15 to 20 years. You got to go back to Gibbs 2.0, the last time I wanted to be really good to follow like, because we always backdoored our way in and it never felt like we were like capable of winning. Like 2012 felt good, but the whole Robert getting hurt shit put a damper on that, and the all in for week one, and just all felt, and then all of the shit that came out after 2012, it just felt like that season was doomed before it got started, and it was. So there was no excitement for 2013 like it should have been. And then Antonio Brown started twerking on us in 2016 after the 2015 season, and I was very hopeful for the 2016 season. And even after he twerked on us, we still, should have made the playoffs that year. But Dustin Hopkins missed a chip shot field goal in overtime against Cincinnati, and we couldn't stop Matthew Stafford in 30 seconds from going down the field and throwing a touchdown against us, and missed some kicks on Thanksgiving against Dallas, and we couldn't stop their offense. And the Giants had nothing to play for in week 17, and we still screwed the pooch and let them beat us. So we had our opportunities in 2016 to make the playoffs, but you really got to go all the way back to like the 06 season. It's the last time I think I was like, yo, I think we really got a shot. And I was really hopeful. This is different, a different emotion. This is, and I wanted 06 bad because I just, in my mind, I said, Joe's back, we're going to win a Super Bowl. And after 05, winning a playoff game with the limitations that we had offensively and how good the defense was, I just knew 06, we were going to do it. And then he brought in Al Saunders, changed the offense. Yeah, we know what happened, but the shit people are talking, the way we're being overlooked, the disrespect that's been served up to us, I want this season bad. I want to stick it to everybody that's talking shit. I got stuff on my timeline from clowns that I never respond to, but they always posting at me on shit, like, and they team ass, and I'm like, why are you still talking? Your team is trash, bro. Stop talking to me. But ain't nothing gonna shut them up until we slap them around on the football field and remind them that they ain't shit. Your team ain't shit. They ain't never been shit. They ain't gonna be shit. Watch your tone when you're talking to me. So I need this season. Like I need air to breathe. Because y'all disrespecting my quarterback. You disrespecting my squad. And you underestimating all of the changes that have been made, and I don't like it. So, yeah, I need this one too, JP. I need this season. Bad. Real bad. Because, I'm finna talk my shit this year. I need them to back me up. When I turn around and I look back, I need them to be all behind me, bro. I cannot do this shit again where I'm talking cold, hard cash, and I turn around and ain't nobody there. I can't do this shit again, man. This shit's embarrassing, and it's just tough to stomach. So I need them to back me up. J-Dub Clatt, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. J-Dub Clatt writes, what up, Lou? What's up, J-Dub? Hope all is well with you and yours. I don't know why, but I've got a good feel. I've got a feeling about this season. JD5, comeback player of the year. I'm see my expectations are a bit loftier, but I like where you headed. Comeback player of the year means he had a hell of a season, but I'm thinking more like MVP, bro. Like my sights are set higher, but I'm with it. If we fall short, I set the bar at MVP, and if we fall short of that, What's waiting on us on the other side? Just comeback player of the year. I'm with it. I'm with it, J-Dub. Styles defensive rookie of the year. Oh, you didn't say rookie of the year. You said defensive player of the year. Shit. He ain't winning defensive player of the year, boy. It's very rare that a rookie wins defensive player of the year. Rookie of the year, they are very hesitant to give that to a rookie. But hey, this your comment, not mine. So you said it, not me. Defensive player of the year, and Terry might get the triple crown. That's that. I can't see Terry getting triple crown. Somebody's gonna have 1,500 yards receiving. Terry ain't doing that shit. Terry, I can see Terry having the most touchdown grabs. That's the one. Terry ain't gonna have the most catches. Terry ain't gonna have the most yards. Terry can have the most touchdowns. He almost had it 2 years ago. Jamar Chase was the only player standing in his way of him leading the league in touchdown grabs. He says, and 5 to 6, 5 to 14 will be nasty. We got a little 5 to 6 action on the timeline today. We heard about a little 8 to 14. We'll get 5 to 14 eventually, but 5 to 17 is where it's at, man. Or as I like to say, 17-5, same color t-shirt, right? 17-5. Shout out to J-Dub Clap. My guy. John Perez, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy JP writes, I hope the NFC East is prepared for the 5 revenge season. Like the Lion King, be prepared. We got a bone to pick with Philly and Dallas, and I'm trying to rip them shits apart. You're tearing this family apart. I'm trying to rip them damn bones apart. Weeks 1 and 2. Right apart. Right out the gate. Yeah. It's on and popping. Yeah, I love it, man. I love it. You know what type of time I be on, man. I'm ready for it, bro. I want all the smoke this year, man. I want all the smoke. I want all of it. J-Dub Clap. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. My guy J-Dub writes, also, Lou, who is a college team you support? Mine is Virginia Tech because of my brother, as you know, right? Also, how many touchdowns and yards are Chig and White getting? If you're talking college football, I'm a Notre Dame Fighting Irish fan. If you're talking college basketball, I am a Duke Blue Devils fan. Okay. How many touchdowns and yards for Chig? I think Chig has, I think he sets a career high this year. So let's see. Because in my mind, 872 yards is what popped up. But I don't know what a career high is for him. He's never had more than, last year was a career high 560. He's smoking that this year. Like a mother effing pack of cools. 872 is what I got in my mind. I don't think he's going to have 1,000 yards his first year here. It's crazy. He's never had more than 3 touchdowns in his career. 3 touchdowns his rookie season. He's going to smoke that. So Chig's going to smack all. So when we heard him say he's never been the focal point, when we heard Jaden say he wasn't the focal point and he's going to have a bigger role here, and we heard our offensive coordinator talk about that, they really mean it. Oh no, baby. I really mean it. He's really going to be the focal point, one of the focal points of this offense. He's going to set career highs across the board. His most catches in a season is 56. We smacking that. We had Logan Thomas with more than 56 catches in a season. Zach Ertz had more than 56 catches in 2024. Oh, we finna smack that. His career high, 560. Zach Ertz had more than 560 yards. Logan Thomas had more than 560. We finna smack that. And he ain't never had more than 3 touchdowns back in his rookie season in his career, in a single season. Oh, he's turning up, bro. I'm going to give you his stats right now. 72 catches, 872 yards, 7 touchdowns. I was about to say 6. Let's go 6. Let's double his previous output. But if Jaden goes to the tight end in the red zone, like we think he goes, he finna have like 8 or 9. But I'm gonna be modest. 6. Let's double it. Rashad White, on the other hand, I think he is going to be an all-purpose dynamo here. He's going to fill that Austin Eckler role. So the rush numbers aren't going to be dynamic because between Bill and Fat Man, they're going to be eating the bulk of the carries. He'll get some leftovers, just like Eckler did in 24. But I think where he'll do his most damage will be pass catching. So I see Rashad White with 427 yards receiving and another 219 rushing on the season. So how much did Eckler have in 2024? How many rush yards did he have? I feel like he had like 300 and something. I could be wrong. I might be under. See, he had 367. I felt like it was 300 and something rushing. And then what did he have receiving? That's the real question. Let's go dig that out. Let's figure out what he had receiving. So Eck in 24 had 367 rushing and 366 receiving. So that's about right. That's a little bit over 700 yards total. 730. What is that? 743 to be exact. Sounds like. What did I say? 60 and 60 again. So that's 12. 13. Yeah, so it would be with 370, 7. Well, I said 330 something and 330 something. Was it both 330 something? Let me go back. Now I could do the math in my head. So it was 367 on the rush side and 366 on the receiving side. So it's 360s. So 600, 60, 60, add another 100, 700, 20, plus another 6 and 7, 33. So 733 yards total offense for Eck. And touchdowns. How many did Eck have? 4 rushing and another. He didn't have very many receiving, if any. None receiving. So I think Rashad is more likely to have receiving touchdowns than rushing touchdowns. So I've said this. I said it already. I think Rashad's going to have 200 and some odd yards rushing. I think he's going to have 400 and something receiving. So he's going to have over 600 yards of total offense. And I think he's going to catch 3 touchdown passes. So that's what I see for Rashad. Chig's going to be the big contributor there, though. J-Dub Clap, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. J-Dub Clap writes, Lou, I was also going to ask, are you planning on going to a game this season? Are you getting the New Jerseys, and who on the schedule are you excited to face and least excited to face? Am I going to a game this season? Probably not. Probably not. I might go to the only preseason game that they have at home against the Dolphins. Take my son to that game. Are you getting the New Jerseys? I think I want one. And if I get one, it'll be a custom. Like they schooled me to the game. Like, don't get a jersey with nobody else's name on it. Get your own shit. Get your own, you heard? So I'll probably get my own name on it. And if I do, it'll be a Hellraiser. It'll probably be one of the black joints. And then who am I excited to face on the schedule? I'm excited about the primetime games. We run from them as fans. I'm not running. I told you I want all the smoke this year. I'm not running from none of that shit. Our fan base, we so beat up, we so damaged, that, oh, we want to play at 1 o'clock. We shouldn't be on prime. Like, F that, man. I'm running towards the smoke, not from it. I'm excited for that damn San Francisco Monday night game. I'm excited for that Sunday night game against the Eagles at the crib, the Monday night game at the crib against Cincinnati. And the game I hate, I abhor, and I've already said this, is the Giants game on Thursday night. That's some bullshit. They trying to set us up. It's a trap. And we can't take the bait. We can't take the bait, but it's a trap. I hate it. It's my least favorite game, and that's the game that I absolutely hate because they setting us up. And unless we're careful, the trap is going to snap, and we're going to get caught in it. We got to really be careful when we get to that game. Got to be careful. Duncan Wright, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Duncan Wright writes, unlike Lou, Rico became loud and proud to be wearing another team's jersey. So tomorrow I invite you to watch us cook Rico, and it's snobs. Okay, that's what you were trying to say, snobs. All right. Well, you know where to find us. We'll be looking for this proof that you claim to have, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow night. You say you got proof? Show us. Show us. We'll be waiting. J-Dub Clap, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, 5 going to start off hot. I think he'll be 7-2 touchdown to interception ratio against Dallas and Philly. I mean, that would be an excellent start to the season. Carson Wentz-like, if you recall, his 2022 start to the season, he was remember he led the NFL in touchdown passes after 2 weeks. I don't like the 2 interceptions, but mistakes happen. And if you tell me he's thrown 7 touchdown passes to just 2 interceptions in the first 2 games, I'll tell you that's 2 wins. Unless it was 5 in one game and 2 in the other. And the 2 that he threw in that game were negated by 2 interceptions. If it's 4 one game, 3 the other game, and it's 1 interception and 1 interception, I don't like that he's thrown an interception in each of the first 2 games. That's not who he's been in his career. But I absolutely love the fact that this offense shouldn't lead to more interceptions thrown. It should lead to less. And he already is a guy that takes care of the football as is. But 7-2 to start, you'd be hard pressed to not be 2-0 if we go out and do that. Now, again, the defense can't go out and give it away, obviously, but 7 touchdowns in the first 2 weeks. That's a lot of touchdown passes. It's a lot of touchdowns. I'd love to see it. I'd love to see it. Duncan Wright, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, my guy. Duncan writes, unlike you, Lou, who wants us to know your life 24/7, Rico was hard to find, but I found it through a simple hashtag. He is now cooked. Watch Kings tomorrow. Okay. Okay. You know where I'll be. So we'll see you tomorrow. See what you got. Because you claim to have proof on Rico or Rio and Ed, and we haven't seen any proof. So we need proof, man. What you got? We'll be front and center tomorrow, waiting on you. Anyway, I digress. That's the last super chat. So that is going to do it for me, your man, Louie T, here on this installment of the Command Post Live. You know what it is. Post up, take command. Day 1 of OTAs in the books, or phase 3 of OTAs in the books. What a day it was. I mean, today was full of so much excitement. We also got the conversation around whether or not the Commanders should trade for wide receiver Keon Coleman. I've been reading your comments in that video, and a lot of you are like, nah, I'm good, bro. I'm a pass. I don't blame you. I'm not a Keon Coleman fan either. I wasn't coming out of college, and I damn sure I am not now. But if all it takes to get Keon Coleman, and I was tickled by the Bills fan in the comment section. I think it was Buffalo pregame. Shout out to that Bills fan, man. I think it was Buffalo pregame. That's my guy. But he was like, bro, you can give me a 2029 8th round pick for him. Please come and get him. He is so over Keon Coleman, like trying to get rid of this man at all costs. Reading his comments was hilarious. So much happened today. And I appreciate y'all kicking it with me for most of it, right? Between that video, the stream I had with Candy, which was awesome. Big shout out to Candy Waller for coming on and blessing us with her presence and giving us that insight from rookie minis, because we hadn't talked to her in so long. She gave us a little combine juice, and then she talked about OTA phase 3 day 1 and things that she saw. So it was phenomenal. And then obviously we went through a lot today, went through Combs social media, sights and sounds, went through these press conferences. We got a lot done today. And we're not done. We may get more tomorrow. I assume we won't get as much, right? Today was like first day of school, so much excitement. But big shout out to y'all, man. Y'all killed it today, and I appreciate y'all holding the kid down. Wrath of God. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy, Wrath of God, writes, Lou, Wrath. My guy, been saying JD5 and Terry got that look in their eye like they're ready to snatch souls. Pause. I'm gonna pause that one for you. But yeah, they ready to they out here on a mission, bro. If you're like a wrestling fan, an old school wrestling fan like myself, I'm not a wrestling fan now, but there was a group called MOM, Men on a Mission. That's what it feel like, Terry, and that's what it feel like 5 and 17 on. Men on a Mission. Jaden is out here to prove that I am what y'all thought I was in my rookie season. I'm that guy. And Terry's here. He's just here to remind everybody, I'm not old. I'm not washed. I'm still that guy. Let me show you. So, yeah. Looking forward to it. Josh Gates, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy, Josh Gates, writes, I saw somebody on the field wear 19. Please tell me that's not Chris Moore. All right. It's not Chris Moore. 19 is Nick Nash. Mr. Nasty Time. Yeah. Look, what you got to understand, this is a new season. Let me tell you this, Josh. It feels different because it is different. Ain't no more of those old ass, spooky, decrepit veterans on this roster. Ain't no more Von Millers. And shout out to Bobby Wagner, man. I ain't trying to shit on Bobby or Zach, man. Them boys they were huge for us, but they gone. Ain't no more Chris Moores or Robbie Chosens. We done leveled up, bro. You ain't got to worry about that no more, man. The boogeyman ain't coming to get us no more, man. Ain't no more, thank you for making me right, Jaden. Ain't no more of those on the roster, bro. Times have changed, man. We leveled up. The ghost of Chris Moore ain't coming back to haunt you, man. We done gave that jersey out to somebody else, man. You safe. You can come outside now, man. Unlock your doors. Open your blinds. Push the curtains back, bro. It's a new day. You safe, Josh. You safe. We safe. You understand? Anyway, I digress. You guys enjoy the rest of your night. And I will see you tomorrow. It's been a hell of a day. And I wouldn't have had it any other way. You guys have a good one. See you next time. Peace.